To a 15-year-old boy who was stabbed to death outside.
A 17-year-old died from a stab wound to the heart.
When we're talking about issues of youth violence,
of violence.
The world of crime.
More violent environments.
A knife or blade was used in a crime every 16 minutes.
2 teenagers have been seriously injured in a suspected stabbing in Nottingham last night.
I've got a friend whose uncle is the main sort of character, as we shall say, in the postcode that he lives in, and that is how he sort of became connected and started in this loop.
in my community, individuals get murdered by the police, they get strangled to death by the police, and no police officer has ever been convicted. I have an uncle that's been killed by the police.
I've heard about like stuff going on in Selly Oak and everything, like that they were like really young, like only 14 years old, and like stabbing people, and that really shocked me. Like, what's making them do that? Because they're still learning.
A lot of people still are looking for explanations around why these young people are doing it, and actually we've known for quite a long time, there's a lot of evidence, and there's a lot of recent evidence as well, that people often fall into this kind of violence because of issues like domestic violence, substance misuse at home, whether it's the family or otherwise, and mental health issues.
We used to have community centres and everything. We'd play football, do this, play tennis, do all this. But they're all gone. Undercutting all the time. And that's what the government does, to keep it undercutting so the youngsters don't get out.
People who are in environments that are more difficult, meaning they're in impoverished environments or abusive environments, or I suppose you could get into more violent environments. Certain cities are more violent than others. Obviously, you're going to be influenced by whatever's around you. And then there are going to be crimes that are born from necessity and not from just being a violent kid.
The only way he could access sort of any type of disposable income was through crime.
It's also important to talk about technology. You know, we're in a technological era. You know, the use of Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram, YouTube, you know, violence is globalized. So we're able to watch now issues that may be taking place in London, Manchester, Liverpool, or also in Europe and also in America. So we're seeing aspects of violence as it relates to young people in different spaces, which I believe also connects us into that understanding, and also possibly can shape behaviors around what I call copycat behavior as it relates to issues of violence. I don't think society understands violence. I don't think we understand the culture of violence. So one of the things that often happens is we want a solution to a problem, but we don't understand what the problem actually is. We don't understand the systemic element of violence as it relates to people in society, and specifically young people. So when we're talking about the problem, oftentimes we don't engage with the problem because we think that the problem is only for one group of people, and that's why you might see that there's a systemic lack of response to engage in this problem.
There are too many of the wrong kinds of facilities and not enough of the right kind. And locking kids up doesn't work, ever. And I think we can pretty much empirically say that it doesn't work. All of the evidence says it doesn't work. All of the kids who have been locked up say it doesn't work. People believe what they're told. And what the media tells people is that kids are bad.
All they see is the actions, and they don't see the story behind it.
I believe that we need a complete paradigm shift. And what I mean by a complete paradigm shift is that the way in which we're engaging with the issue of youth violence is a criminal justice problem. We see it as a criminal justice problem, rather it needs to be approached as a public health issue. Because violence for me is contagious. Violence spreads like a disease from one person to another, to one group to another group, to one group to a wider community, from one wider community to a wider society. The response to me needs to be adequate in the sense that we need to be able to engage with individuals at loads of different types of levels. We need to be talking about what should the government be doing to shift from a criminal justice response to a public health response, and what are people's views and thoughts about what a public health model should look like.
If people understand to a higher degree why someone is behaving the way they are and has empathy for that, I think they'll be less quick to judge and punish that person.
We need, the community needs, society need a counter narrative, platforms where we can actually hear the truth of what takes place in communities, platforms that enable people to be seen, to be heard, and to be understood with the real challenges that are faced in society.
If I'm trying to convince people, we need to have an exchange and dialogue. So first, I think there just needs to be more adult dialogue where we don't patronise people about what we think the solutions are and the problems are. But we need multiple perspectives to build a coherent narrative. But then equally, we've clearly got so much more to learn from actually listening to the service user voice. And I'll give you a quick example. We're going to have a new secure facility for children who have committed serious crimes in the West Midlands, hopefully in the next 10 years. We don't properly understand what the young person who actually goes into that centre would really want out of that environment, what kind of things intimidate them, what kind of things make it hard for them to engage. And unless we ask and have those conversations, we'll be missing out a really key part of the story.
We held a group discussion about youth violence in which we shared our opinions and ideas about why it happens and how it is currently being tackled. We also discussed what a public health approach could look like. This highlighted that talking and listening to each other is vital in getting people invested in the issue. We believe that changing perceptions is the first step to tackle youth violence. We are proposing to create a counter-narrative through our online platform, Audacity. This will give those affected an audible voice and make people invested in tackling the issue by better informing them. This platform will comprise of a website and Facebook page. The website will be a space for young people who are affected by youth violence to have their say and share their stories. It will also be a space for professionals who work with young people and academics who study the issue to share their expertise. Young people, professionals and the community can all get involved by sharing their experiences, opinions and ideas about the issue and about what a public health approach could look like. This can be done on our online form on our website, and with their permission this will be published on the blog as posts alongside videos, interviews and articles in order to further the discussion and inform the public.